Hi there. Welcome to another Agents of Change Social Work Shorts. And today we are going to be covering a very important topic. I am going to cover the 6 social work ethical values. And these are the 6 core values stated in the NASW Code of Ethics. And you will need to know the Code of Ethics for whatever level of the exam you are sitting for. So let's go ahead and jump into what those 6 core values are. So, as you know, we are guided by the Code of Ethics in our work as social workers. So I suggest 2 things about the Code of Ethics. I suggest that you read it in full, and know it well. And why is this? The Code of Ethics really is our foundation of how we practice. It really sets the roadmap and gives us guidance on what we are supposed to do, how we are responsible for our ethical behavior, and it's really a large part of this exam. It is at least a 4th on all of the exams, but we know that you should always be acting in an ethical manner when answering any questions on the exam. So you should read the Code of Ethics. I suggest reading it fully through once before you even begin starting your studying, and then once right before you sit to test so that it is fresh in your mind. And it can be a very dense document, but I suggest you take it through slowly, highlight, take notes. There are YouTube videos out there, so just make sure that you are spending the proper time that you need to for the Code of Ethics. So we have our 6 core values that are established in the NASW Code of Ethics, and they are service, social justice, dignity and worth of the person, importance of human relationships, integrity, and competence. I am going to go through these. I'm going to give an example of what this may look like in practice. But as always, I encourage you to come up with your own example and come up with a way that you will remember this principle in a way that is meaningful and makes sense to you. So our first value we're going to touch on is service. So what is service? We do this all the time as social workers. Service is when social workers prioritize helping people in need and addressing social issues, putting service to others above their own self-interest. They should use their skills, knowledge, and values to assist those in need, often volunteering a portion of their time or their services without expecting significant financial return. So a lot of people ask me, so does this mean we just have to work for free? I often say, how many times have you put in extra hours, extra time, you've shared your expertise, and you have not gotten financial return on it? It probably happens more often than you think. So this really guides our practice, right? Maybe you are sharing knowledge with a coworker outside of work hours, or how many times have you worked through a lunch period or stayed a little bit extra to go above and beyond for a client, right? That would be considered service. Or if you present a CEU or you volunteer your time, those can all be considered acts of service, right? So an example here might be a social worker might provide free counseling services to homeless individuals, utilizing their expertise to assist those who cannot afford mental health services. So some social workers may do pro bono work. Some might offer a sliding scale. Maybe you do some work outside of your full-time job to provide service. There's many different ways that you can do this, but this is really the crux of our work and why our field exists. So service, like I said, it's really the fabric of what we do. And the big piece with this is that we're not expecting a significant financial return in exchange for our service to those that are from vulnerable populations or to those that are in need. Also, key point here, we put service when we are really focusing on service as our core value. Our self-interests are put aside. It's not what we want. We are putting what the client, the populations, what their needs are first. Second value is social justice. And a lot of people will tell you that social work is political, and it definitely ties into this. So, what is social justice? Social workers are advocates for social change, especially for the vulnerable and oppressed, focusing on issues like poverty and discrimination. They work to promote equal access to resources and participation in decision-making processes. This is where agents of change came to be, because I do believe that social workers are change agents in whatever way that resonates with you, right? Some of you might work more in the micro clinical space. Other people might work more in the macro space. All of the different systems work together. And as social workers, we're advocating for that change, right? So an example of how someone might be engaging or showing how they are committed to social justice: organizing a community campaign to advocate for affordable housing policies in a city with high homelessness rates, right? Using our voice to advocate, trying to make sure that there's policies, there are laws that are protecting and serving the most vulnerable and oppressed people, not harming them further. The third principle is dignity and worth of the person. I think this is such an important value. They're all important, but this one really speaks to me. So what is dignity and worth of the person? Social workers respect and value each individual, recognizing their inherent dignity and treating them with care and respect, considering cultural and ethnic diversity. They promote clients' self-determination and capacity for change, right? This is really that notion that we meet the client where they're at. It's not what we want, it's what they want. And oftentimes they might not have been in a space because they might have been in systems that have oppressed them, or where they have been mistreated, or their best interests were not put first. So self-determination really is seeing the client for who they are, where they're at, and allowing them to be their own best advocates. What would be an example of dignity and worth of the person? Social worker empowers clients from a marginalized community by involving them in creating their own goals and action plans during therapy sessions, right? We really want to do this in partnership. We want to break those power dynamics and make sure that this is a working together with the client. They know themselves better than anyone, right? We're there to support, we're there to assist, but we really need to make sure that we are empowering them to be in charge of their own decisions and allow them to make those decisions when appropriate. Our fourth social work code of ethics value is important of human relationships. Social workers understand the crucial role of relationships in fostering change and work to strengthen these relationships for the betterment of individuals, families, and communities. So we know that our work is really based in connection. So this is another one that is really, really, really important to the work that we do. We know that human beings thrive in connection, whatever those connections mean and whatever connections are of value to our clients. And we do this to strengthen relationships so that we can have stronger individual relationships, family relationships, community relationships, system relationships. We are often working with our clients to help them with relationships, to help them build the capacity to have healthy, meaningful human relationships. What is an example of how we might be supporting this or supporting our clients in forming relationships? Facilitating a support group that enables members to share experiences and support each other in overcoming personal challenges. This is a very obvious one, but also the therapeutic relationship itself, the connection that the client makes with us, that is also speaking to the importance of human relationships. We are oftentimes in our therapeutic relationship, the connection is often the most important driver and most important indicator of change. Our fifth value is integrity. So important. We have to act with integrity. And when we don't act with integrity, this is when we can get into some of those ethical dilemmas, and it can really cause harm to our client populations. So what is integrity? Social workers act in a trustworthy and responsible manner, aligning their practice with the profession's mission, values, and ethical standards, and promoting ethical practices in their organizations. 4 terms of the Code of Ethics, integrity means, are you acting ethically, right? So important that we do this. That's why we have a Code of Ethics. And there are so many different examples that one could come up with for this, but the example I have here is a social worker refuses to falsify client records despite pressure from their employer, upholding ethical standards of honesty and responsibility. We might be in situations where we have to make that decision. Is this allowing me to act with integrity? Is this allowing me to act ethically? And it seems that it's very black and white, but it oftentimes can be very much centered in that gray area, right? We might be up against certain things, like in this case, right? Do we follow what our employer is saying? We need the job, or are we pushing up against that system to act with integrity and act in ethical ways? And they can be very difficult situations that we're put into. So I want you to just think about some of those gray areas and how we can act in ethical ways, but while also sometimes having to comply with greater systems where they might have policies, procedures that we don't agree with. Our last value is competence, and we have to be competent in serving our clients in our areas of expertise, in our skills, in our knowledge, because we want to minimize harm to a client. We do not want to step outside of our competency area. That can be very, very harmful to our clients. So it's important to remember that. So what is competence? Social workers practice within their expertise and continually seek to enhance their professional knowledge and skills. They apply this expertise effectively in their practice. This is why when you're licensed, you have to renew your license and you have to do continuing education, right? It's oftentimes we need to continue to level up our skills. We need to push outside of our comfort zones and learn new things because the field continues to evolve and our clients and our knowledge continues to evolve as well. An example here. A social worker receives a case outside of their expertise. They refer the client out to someone who specializes in their area of need. It is okay if you get a case, you don't feel that your clinical training is a match. That is okay. You actually should be referring out if it is outside of your expertise. I always give this an example. I am not trained in EMDR. I would never take on a client who is seeking EMDR. I have not been trained in that protocol. So that would be someone I would refer out to a colleague or a professional who does have those certifications. So it is very important that you're continuing to expand your knowledge, you're referring out when needed. And also I would say competency is seeking supervision and guidance when you need to. It is okay to ask for case help, right? I have been doing this work for a long time and I still often am reaching out to others. Just, can we talk this through? Am I doing the right thing? So make sure that you are utilizing supervision. You're utilizing those around you that can offer some expertise. So in summary, those are the 6 core values. I want you to take some time, think about them, think of how this might come up in your own work and where your ethical dilemmas may come up. So that is important to note as well. And as always, I want you to check us out at agentsofchangeprep.com if you're looking for more content. We really have something for everyone. We are constantly adding. We have our blog, we have videos, and of course, we have our study packages. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out at agentsofchangeprep@gmail.com. We'd be happy to help answer any questions that you have. And of course, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you can have updates on when we release these new little social work shorts. And remember, you got this. Thanks for tuning in.